Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank all of you, first of all, for inviting me here today to speak. But not only that, for the fact that for the past year and a half we've been meeting at various times in this building. And thank you very much for letting our group meet in this building. We're just a group of volunteers. We don't have a lot of money, so it's all, whatever we can do. But what we have learned, it's the strength in numbers. So I hope I inspire some of you today. The title is Together We Can Save the City Farm. When I was asked to do this, I was asked to do something related to mission. And this is a mission I'm on, basically. But it goes back, and the more I thought about it, I had to go back to the time that I was 20 to find the time when I was first involved in mission. Something definitely outside of the ordinary. Now, when I was a college student, I was in something called the Baptist Student Union, and they raised money for summer missions, and they sent people to do all kinds of things. But one thing I did was to go on a work camp. Sounds like exciting, doesn't it? We were going to build a church building in Nevada. Yeah, that sounds great. I even got a pair of sunglasses prescription just for that. At the last minute, finances for that building fell through. But at the same time, something came through in New England. In the Boston area, a place called, it's a small city, about 35,000, called Chelsea. And they needed somebody to come in and renovate a church building. What it was a building in a community that long ago had declined. They built a building, they could seat 500 to 1,000 people, depending on how they expanded the sanctuary. And they were down to about 11 people. So those remaining remnant decided, well, the American Baptist Convention isn't going to help us anymore. We already owe them some money. So they said, well, we'll sell this building. They were offered, first of all, over $1 million in today's money to sell it to somebody to build a high-rise. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And even though the city itself was kind of a rough section, it was 1 block from the main intersection of the city, so it was a prime location to build something like that. And so they sold it to the Southern Baptist Convention for what would amount to about $74,000 in today's money, instead of $1 million. And they only did that because they owed money to the American. They had to pay off a debt they owed, so they had to have some money. So we went up there, and our mission basically was to fix up the building, to make it usable. And there was going to be, there were 13 of us total in our group. Now, 4 of those people were the ministry director from William & Mary, his wife, and 2 children. There were 6 of us male students and 3 females. And the guys got the luxury of sleeping in the basement on cots for 8 weeks and having to move from one room to another because of the way we painted things. And we painted a lot in the basement because that's where a lot of the ministry was going on and what needed it the most. Now, to start out, we had to clean up some yard waste, cut back shrubbery, and then clean out some trash in the church building. It took 6 dump trucks to do that, just to clean it out. And then we did a lot of scraping and painting. Oh boy, we painted. But I tell you that basically because I was up there on a mission at the same time as NASA was landing men on the moon. And there's a connection there because just this July I was over at the Hampton Roads Convention Center, and I was NASA Lang was celebrating 100 years. So I was there, of course, with my cameras, and I was sitting in the front, as close as I could get to the speaker. Now, I was over on the side, like over here with my camera. The VIPs were in the middle here. But there was a kind of a surprise that first session. About the middle of it, the speaker said, well, introduce this special person in the middle. So he gets up and salutes and all that. And I wanted to get over and speak to him. But he leaves quickly after that first session. And then I come back for the second session. I'm in the same spot. And he's not in the audience anymore. So I'm disappointed. And then in the middle, I look over to my left, and there he is sitting next to me. Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon. So the man's 87 now, so he's having a little difficulty hearing. So he leans over and he says, what did the guy say? What did the man say up there? Or something like that. So he kept talking to me. And at the same time, I'm closer to the speaker on the platform than I am now to the row of chairs here. So, but he's the man. I mean, he's the man of the hour. But anyway, like I say, he got on the moon not because there were three men willing to go to the moon, and then two of them to go land on the moon. Not because there were hundreds or a couple thousand people from NASA. There were 400,000 people. I checked this out now. 400,000 people involved in one way or another to put it on the moon. Now, a lot of them, of course, didn't have a big part, but every little bit was important. And I want to say that today, every little bit you can help in this issue I'm talking about today, about the city forum, will help. Even if it's getting the sign or signing a petition, coming to a few meetings, whatever you can do. And especially when they have, talk about this comprehensive plan that's coming up for vote at the Planning Commission and then the City Council. So, while I was there, now I haven't done this all my life, but I wrote a journal during that period of my life, in my college years and Chelsea. And I went back 12 years ago and I typed up the journal, I typed up letters that I read. I have this habit, every time I wrote a letter, I wrote the original first and then I copied it more neatly. So I had copies of every letter I've ever written since the 1960s. And so I typed it up, and there was also this publication that came out during the summer from summer missionaries from all over the different kind of ministries that they were doing. Some were working in Bible schools in various churches in Virginia. Some were on what we would call a folk team. They were singing music. That was just after the big folk revival, the late 60s and early, about that time. So that was popular. And so I put all this together in the book, but I won't read it all today. It's about 15,000 words at this point. But I will read an excerpt. This church building is of lovely brown stone on the outside, but inside the plaster is falling, the paint peeling, and the dust is thick.